everything on the line for both of these teams, because this is the entire season that it's culminated to this singular moment. I think it's easy to forget that with all, you know, the fun and the jokes that we're having alongside this. This is the play-ins. This is the entire culmination of the 2021 season for both these teams. If you lose, you're gone. That's it. And for some of these players as well, might be their last game playing in the Overwatch League as well. You've got to think about that moving forwards into next season. Obviously, the announcement that we're going to be playing on Overwatch 2, like the sort of like early build, I suppose, of it. Moving to 5v5, some of these opportunities are not going to be present as well. It's a lot. It's going to mean a lot for both of these teams, I think, coming into this.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these rosters, both of these franchises are having some of their best performances they've had in recent times. The Boston Uprising was the weakest team of 2020. And so to turn that around and be a mid-table team with playoff chances here, what a turnaround. I mean, GM Huck bought the dip and has come into this season with a team, honestly though, Brent, it's a team that it's not even at full strength compared to what he was trying to accomplish in the preseason. They didn't have Soon, for example, a legend of the Overwatch scene who wasn't able to compete with us this year. And so they've been working with a DPS lineup that hasn't been able to fill all of the different roles. But I'm37 has been crucial in filling some of that gap and having a much better performance than he did in the past. And who did he play for in the past? The Toronto Defiant. I'm loving this kind of idea of these two franchises clashing together, because when you look at the history of both of these franchises, it has been up and down for Boston, but a lot of down. And then for Toronto, it has just been a slow grind up to something they can be proud of. And that's what they're aiming for this year, both teams.
Yes, and opportunities abound, I think, as well. When the meta's still so up in the air, which team is going to get the better grasp of it early? Let's take a look at the Toronto Defiant starters. And there's plenty of individuals on this team who we can point at as definitely going to be impactful players, I think, moving forwards as well into this series. Hisu and Aspire have had magical moments. The thing that sticks out for me as well is Michelle, in terms of how well Michelle has been playing in recent times as well, especially against players like Decay. I think back to his match against Washington and how well he was just shutting down Decay as an individual. There's talent on this roster, and we've seen, honestly, the peaks of Toronto Defiant looking quite good.
They certainly have, and like I said, this has been the best year for them as well. These players have had success before. Sado going to the grand finals in 2018, Hisu and Sado together with KDG, the coach of Defiant, having an incredible year in 2020 playing for the Philadelphia Fusion. They were the #1 seeded team coming out of the regular season in the West. But this franchise is having the best year they've ever had. They're at a 56% win rate over the season. I mean, they were at 29% in 2019, and then 36% in 2020. So this is a gigantic step upwards. And if they're able to continue this season, both squads, if they can continue and make a deep run through the play-ins, maybe get to the playoffs, maybe cause an upset later on down the road, it'll easily be their highest accomplishment in a regular season.
Certainly will. And Busan is going to be the stage where we're set map #1 between both of these teams. I believe that's Toronto Defiant's map pick as well, as they're the higher seed in this opening matches in the play-ins. And yeah, just to clear up confusion as well, I saw some people didn't really get it, but the next round of matches with the Shock and the Houston Outlaws, they actually get to pick their opponents out of the winners of the match earlier today and this match here as well. A lot on the line.
Listen, that Justice team was looking improved compared to their recent regular season performances. So
that's the annoying thing about Justice. They come alive in the playoffs.
Oh, that's why I'm wondering whether either of these teams will do it as well. The Toronto Defiant have probably slightly higher player quality. Like on paper, their roster seems like it would be able to do more than Boston. But Boston have had explosive performances, big upset results this season, off the back of Valentine and Myeonbong, for example. So if anyone turns up for the playoffs, it can create a very different feel for the ceiling of a team.
Defiant looking to, I think, keep a bit of that momentum that they were carrying forwards at the end of the Countdown Cup play-ins. They certainly were looking good. I think it was against the Atlanta Reign. Ended up losing that match, but here we go against the Boston Uprising.
Fire. And here we see both teams playing radically different compositions to what we saw in our previous match. both going for the ball Zen. I mean, obviously this is favored on Busan anyway, and a lot of this meta I think is going to end up being map dependent. Tracer Sombra for both teams here, but it's not that same Lucio fast-paced brawl, rush, dive kind of comp.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of different looks of the meta as well early on in the playoffs themselves. You can see the Spies in the back just trying to put in a bit of harassment there, the damage off onto the side. Myeonbong trying to stay safe, firing off the volleys from the long-range angles here. It's going to be the early control of the point going to the Toronto Defiant, so in control of this now. They have, honestly, better positioning as well. Looking to try and sync something up with Aspire, potentially as well.
Aspire's Tracer.
Sado coming in.
Aspire's Tracer has been lovely this season. Third in hero damage as well. Brand new rookie coming into the league. He was on a temporary contract. There he is. Just syncing up so well with Hisu and the Discord orbs.
Yeah, pretty orchestrated. The Boston Uprising looking to answer back. They did manage to jump onto the backline, so it's going to be them taking out the support. Aspire now trying to win out this 1v1, just dodging, juking, trying to stay alive here. With the Boston Uprising flipping this point over, it's only a brief moment where they're going to be able to gain control of it. It's going to go right back to them as well. And it's all about how you set up these dive attempts as well, around the Wrecking Ball, the Tracer, as well as that the Sombra. Trying to follow up on a lot of the power drives that come through from your Wrecking Ball player.
Good coordination from Toronto as well, in terms of how they executed those dives. The pressure was nice. Michelle now getting back into mech, as just in time to be able to stop Boston from recapping. There's an EMP, only really caught 2.
That's a massive transcendence coming out from Lasher there, keeping his entire team up. The pulse bomb gets nothing. Aspire though taken out, off to the side. In the middle of all this chaos as well, it was the Boston Uprising that flipped back over the point. The mines are scattered with the EMP coming out. It's not going to be catching on to too many people at all. Boston Uprising coming back in now with the Transcendence. It's actually going to fade here, but Myeonbong still able to put in that damage and applying the Discord Orb to all the necessary targets. Still committing the ultimates into this one. Nice whip shot just to push Sado away, but with Aspire going down, it's a lot of the damage and brute force that the Toronto Defiant was able to win out a lot of these team fights. It's going to be missing now.
Certainly is. Aspire actually first pick in both of those extended scrappy fights that formed that team fight. He got punished the first time around by a large amount of Boston just pulling back and peeling, and then the second time Myeonbong hits him with a headshot. This Tracer player for the Defiant is so crucial to finding success, and they still invested the rally in that previous fight, so now big advantage to Boston. They're going to have double support ultimate here, and that rally is going to be so difficult to get through. Plus, I'm 37 with an EMP.
It's good by Michelle eating up that pulse bomb, but Myeonbong's already answering back with Hisu down.
Another one.
He can't play into this. Yeah, Myeonbong absolutely on fire with the damage that he's outputting.
Just finding picks whenever he's under pressure here. They need more coordination.
Oh,
there's the EMP.
It's a bit of aggression there from the Boston Uprising. I mean, they invested a lot of ultimates. They did get the Transcendence out. So Lasher had to use that in response to keep the team alive, but now they're going right back in again. The ebbs and flows of the team fight this way. It's going in the direction of the Boston Uprising, though. Aspire falling again. It's not ideal. Sado gone as well. 95%. Someone's just got to be able to touch this in time. The Toronto Defiant don't look likely. Still, they will be able to get onto it just to force out the overtime in round number 1 of Busan. That hack onto Michelle, though, was critical. Gets the D-Mech in the end, and they've got ults for days now, with Myeonbong just carrying forwards the healing. Should be a closed-out team fight.
Oh, wait there. Don't call it too early. Valentine taking a little bit of damage, but Myeonbong again fires back with that pick. And I'm 37 is cleaning things up. You were completely right, Brent. Look, for a moment there, like Defiant might have been able to wrestle things back under their control. But Boston coming away with a relatively clean one, Brent. And I think the big difference maker was how much they were able to punish Aspire and to some extent Hisu too. What we saw in the first half of that round was some really nice dives and coordinated pressure from Aspire and Hisu, and then Sado coming through at the end as well with the pile drives. But more and more as you went through, Myeonbong was just finding picks on Hisu or on Aspire. Aspire got hacked one of these times as well. You cannot win fights if you're the Defiant when your star Sombra Tracer duo is getting destroyed by a Zen. You can't win.
Certainly makes it very difficult. We're heading over to the mecha base now. This is what Scott was theorizing actually when he swapped his prediction back over to Boston, that they would be leaning in to these rush compositions. It definitely applies to more of their strengths as well as a team. They haven't looked too clean when it comes to a lot of the coordinated plays when they play outside of it, but off to a really great start, honestly, with that round and the teleport. It's aggressive right into them. The charge from across as well. M37 just trying to build up a lot of that damage. The Ice Wall doesn't get too much, and it's a good rotation from Toronto. They bait it back. They haven't lost anybody yet, but the trouble is, how do they take a fight here? Sado needs to try and set up some sort of engage, knocks him down to the low ground, and Sunjay with a whip shot. That's M37 gone. Down and out, but Aspire also traded. Again, missing all that damage still. Boston are definitely getting taken out pretty close here. Has to commit this Amp Matrix into the fight. Myeonbong wants to try and turn it around. Fallen is loathsome as well, giving that extra damage and healing to the rest of his team. Sado committing the mines with the power driver. They can't actually go anywhere, but they've got the immortality field. And yeah, committing into this fight, despite the fact that it looks like the Boston Uprising have the better heals and damage. Oh my word, that! I mean, I don't think it's going to matter, unfortunately, in the end, but it might in the end with Aspire getting the three-piece with the pulse bomb in close quarters. Michelle's going to try and hold on to this one, but it's too scrappy, it's too disjointed. The team fight was already lost at that point.
That's an absurd play, but it's one pop-off moment when Aspire died early on. And it's not that I'm blaming the Tracer necessarily here, but the investment in that fight was a bit too much from the Defiant. Myeonbong was doing such a great job, though, of healing up all the rest of Boston. Stan 1 did drop incredibly low, and this EMP, it's got to find value. They've got the rally already out. There's the hack as well.
That's smart from Hisu, actually, just going for the neutral hack. Has the EMP, lets it rip. He saw the targets, but look at that. Faith was already just round the corner. Dodged it, came back in with a soundbar. It's going to be the free Earth Shatter there for Stan 1. Now the symbol splits across the point, but Stan 1's still going to be going down. Boston, though, got a lot of damage to work with. M37 has been charging up the beam. The Defiant just have to bide their time. They have to wait in close quarters before they decide to roll back in again. Nice little tech there from Sado as well. Little power driver up to top, and that's synced up with Aspire, tearing through them. Already 2 kills. Might be looking for the third. Teleport down onto the floor, but nobody can reach it in time. And look at the damage that's being done. Aspire just ripping through them, following up on all of that damage and setup that Sado was doing.
And that's what this guy is capable of if you can keep him alive in the team fights. He's trying to play aggressively, and as long as he can avoid getting punished, he is good for kills. He is good for damage. We've seen it the whole time that he's been playing in the Overwatch League this season. Now Boston making some moves, though, over to the Torb, and they now have a flash to be able to deal with him. This gets more and more difficult for the Defiant Tracer.
Yeah, I really don't know how Aspire is going to be dealing with this one, but quick rotation here from the Boston Uprising. Really smart adaptations as well from them when it comes to the composition. Looks like they're just eyeing up the high ground here.
Look how close Hisu is to this EMP, though, Brent. This EMP could really turn things around, and Boston have a very slow comp.
Hisu just trying to get that last percentage point, has it in the end. EMP comes through, and it did catch onto the tail end. That's the support line of the Boston Uprising. Gonna get caught out, and that is going to be the damage done. A big investment of ultimates there from the Toronto Defiant, but a necessary team fight to win.
I gotta be honest, man, that was so close to being a memp. They speed boost and they went through that area almost exactly at the time that Hisu chose to invest his Translocator.
Yeah.
He did manage to catch the 2 most crucial elements, being Myeonbong and Faith, but that was a close one. And now Defiant don't really have another big ultimate they can use to win something, unless Aspire gets another 3k pulse.
The rally is going to give them a bit of healing coming into this.
Myeonbong hacked.
They don't have the ultimates. Big pulse into the back. That's Faith. Gone. Taken out. No mortality field, or maybe just the timing wasn't there. Possibly just off cooldown. I'm not sure.
No, Hisu got the hack onto Myeonbong, so they went in with the pulse. A really nice setup play by the DPS line from Defiant. And now all the pressure is on Boston.
They have to win out this team fight. Deadeye's going to get channeled up here. M37 moving forwards with it. So they're going to be showing it a lot of respect. They do flip the point away, so it's going to take away the overtime now. The Toronto Defiant have to try and be aggressive against the Boston Uprising. You can see the way that they're playing, though. Close indoors is exactly where this composition likes to play. Sado, though, trying to set something up. Power driver comes down, almost getting blocked, but Aspire's taken out early. Once again, M37 finds the kill. It's going to be the self-destruct over the top. No one going to be falling as a result of this one, but they need to try and touch the point now. With the overtime going, this could be the final team fight. The Boston Uprising looks to be that they're in firm control here. Stan 1, it's eating a lot of damage, and his shield is going to withstand that self-destruct for but a moment. Now, a window of opportunity. The EMP is going to be scattered across the point once more. Hisu, maybe the hack was enough. Stand one falling, still just trying to play loose and around these corners. So Toronto Defiant rolling deep here. The overtime still going, and nobody's going to be able to touch. That's a Defiant essentially stealing that away from the Boston Uprising.
There were 4 players alive there, Bren. That's some bone-hurting Charlie Niner. That really felt like it was still turnable for Boston. And Toronto have been granted a lifeline. Sado takes a chug at the old 2-liter, and we're straight back into round 3.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think Boston are going to be kicking themselves, honestly. Mecha base, one of the most ideal areas to play this rush composition. This is the 3K pulse bomb that ended up missing earlier. Incredible stuff from Aspire.
3, 2, 1. Round 3. Capture.
Yeah, he's really been the win condition, I think, for Toronto. It's all about being able to keep him alive and have that impact in the fight.
My ultimate is charging. My EMP is charging. My ultimate is charging. My EMP is charging.
Bit of a tech issue there, but I am now back. I don't know where the Bren is. Here we go, the Toronto Defiant in that first fight were able to steal control away. And Sano with a little bit of a hack. Lastro very weak there, or rather with a Discord orb on him, so vulnerable, but he still manages to get the Transcendence off. Hisu EMP online a little earlier than I'm 37 here, as well as Aspire. You can see him, he looks like he's just in the trenches, taking damage from all over the place. And at the very end of that trance, Lastro manages to get picked off. Thankfully, though, Hisu is there with that EMP to try and save things for Toronto, as this little skirmish for Boston is going to be repelled. That's half of the capture point already for the Defiant.
I mean, a critical fight to win, isn't it, for the Defiant now? And they're going to be thinking, thank God we ended up winning on Mecha Base here to take it right here. This is really where the composition that they're playing with the Wrecking Ball can start to excel, but the Boston Uprising not looking to give up just yet. That's the EMP coming over the top. And Sanjay and Sado going to be caught out with that one. Locked up, they can't use too many of abilities, but now the Boston Uprising have gained positioning onto the point. Can start to try and flip this one over, but Aspire, Pulse Bomb in hand, is going to be forced to use that recall. That Shield Bash coming in handy for them, but again, going right into the backline. Pulse Bomb going to be missing just off to the side there, so not quite finding the target they were looking for. Still, the Toronto Defiant are the ones in control of this point. Investing a lot of resources into this one. The Boston Uprising have not gained the edge that they were hoping for. In fact, Lastro, this guy's an absolute menace right now. He's just pumping in the damage, playing in the front lines, and look at the Discord orb placement. The damage, volley after volley, orb after orb, with the Transcendence healing on top, is absolutely unstoppable.
Toronto have just demolished this round. There was no contest for Boston. Toronto got warmed up. And this map, Brent,
you're kidding me.
It all comes back to that final team fight on Mecha Base. That's the decider. This final round was absolutely one-sided in favor of the Defiant, and they were gifted that opportunity in the first place. If this series ends up being a close one, and this map makes a big difference, Boston are going to hate that they made that large mistake.
Yeah, you got to remember, this is the play-ins. This is the entire 2021 Overwatch League season. Everything they've been playing up towards this match right here. And yeah, what a mistake to make here with Toronto Defiant taking away map number 1. Gonna go to a short break. We'll be right back with the continuation of this epic series. We'll see you in just a few.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The 2021 postseason has arrived. Head over to overwatchleague.com/2021-playoffs to learn more about the full playoffs and the grand final schedule, along with the drops headed your way as well. You know you're not going to be wanting to miss that. That's from September the 21st, as you can see on your screens, and the grand finals on the 25th. I mean, these are going to be some big matches, and I use the word a lot, but it really does fit well. The culmination of every team that is in the play-ins and the playoffs, all up to that singular point where it's essentially everything they've played for this year, all the trials and tribulations.
And for these two teams that we've got in front of us here, the Boston Uprising and the Toronto Defiant, it's about making it as deep through that as you possibly can. Neither of these teams are really thought of as being favorites to go on some incredible run, but if you can harness that playoff magic, maybe get a good read on the meta early on. We've seen magical, miraculous runs from various teams in the past that were sat in very similar scenarios to these two teams right here. We're going to be headed into Anubis with one substitution as Neist comes in instead of Aspire. So I'm wondering here whether we're going to see... So normally we see Winston comps when it comes to Anubis, and I'm theorizing that maybe we're going to see a lot of what we saw from that game a little earlier with Paris playing against the Washington Justice, where we essentially go back in time to our June Joust meta. It did seem to be really powerful, very effective on this map.
Yeah, it certainly did. And we saw a little bit as well of, I guess, the Winston and the Ana being played as well on Anubis, the rotation of these ultimates. The teams so far haven't really shied away from it. Still early days yet. Oh
yeah, that's always a classic. I mean, that really has been one of the most popular compositions this entire season long. Starting from the main melee, the Ana Brig backline with the Winston. It looks like that's what the Toronto Defiant are teasing to start off with here, but Boston playing something I would not have expected. It makes sense for this team, but we don't often see it on this map. We haven't really seen it since very early on in the season. Teams just playing straight up rush on defense.
Yeah, I think it definitely tends to have its weaknesses that are kind of showcase a lot more, I think, when you're trying to hold checkpoint A. I mean, a full holding checkpoint A is kind of it's a pipe dream. You're never really going to be able to do it, but you want to play a composition that's also going to be able to get those holds off on checkpoint B as well, is the, I guess, the idea behind it. The rush is interesting, but it definitely plays towards Boston's strengths. That's what Custer was talking about the entire time, but we'll see whether or not the Toronto Defiant are able to just quickly break past this one. I mean, the momentum from that first map can't be understated, I think. They really did just kind of steal that way, it felt.
Hisu has got him behind, and Michelle is currently trying to mark him. And in the meantime, that means no Diva at the front line for the Boston Uprising, so they get peppered back. There's a good pick to start things off, though. That's a great pick. Brig going down.
What? I mean, that's a great kill, honestly. M37 going down, no more hit scan to try and put the pressure onto Neist here. Neist doesn't have the pocket, so he is incredibly susceptible to being taken down from the air, but now he can follow up on that dive. Just went straight over. Sado ends up paying with it. Ends up going down, but he did get the kill onto Faith. Forced out the Immortality Field, and they have got the better positioning now. The high ground being taken by the Toronto Defiant. Boston forced to just back away onto the staircase and re-engage when they get their players back into the action. Now the Amp Matrix comes through. This is their time to shine, but the Toronto Defiant are showing it complete respect. Pulse bomb off to the side. He's not going to be connecting with that one. They need a pick-off. They want to try and at least capitalize off of all of this space they've taken. Nano boost onto Sado as well. Now they collapse onto them.
And this Nano is exactly what the Toronto Defiant's comp is supposed to build towards. You have this up so early on. Minute and a half on the clock before really anything apart from the Amp Matrix was available from Boston. They're looking for a recon test potentially here. It actually looks like they're going to go for this. They have a Blizzard to work with as well.
Yeah.
Oh no, they back off in the end.
Yeah.
I think this is the right call. Boston were at risk there of using all of their defensive ults. They already have a comp that most people would not be inclined to run on B defense.
Yeah, it's quite strange. You can't really, take the aggressive defenses that we've seen teams be doing all the time recently when they play this Winston with the Ana as well, just cycling those ultimates, but Boston already, oh my goodness, the Bionade into the back. Look at that, onto 3 targets. Faith almost getting taken down just from the follow-through damage coming their way. Valentine's so weak, gets taken out. No ice block in hand. Ended up using it prior to that point. That's going to be the self-destruct, double self-destructs in fact. Dropped onto the point, but it's actually Hisu who ends up going down. 37 got to channel this one up. He needs to try and get a pick off here to try and stave off this aggression that's coming their way. Now we see that's going to be the sound barrier committed. The Boston Uprising with a bit of extra oomph to try and take themselves further into this fight, along with the Amp Matrix. It's more than enough ultimates to try and push away the Toronto Defiant. But they did end up walking away with 50% on the objective.
Yeah, that's huge. It really is. They used the nano boost towards the end here, and Toronto are coming back in with only a rally to really speak of. This feels like more of a push to try and force ultimates out of Boston. And so I would say, all in all, that was pretty decent. They do all die. The kill feed is filled up with white on red. But they forced out some crucial stuff there. They don't have a sound barrier. They haven't built up towards an amp matrix because the fight was really fast. And that blizzard is now gone. So as Lastro starts to get closer and closer to his nano, they can start to use that tool, speed boost forwards. Now they have a Lucio and a Reaper in the mix, and take all of that space. I like the approach here from Defiant.
Yeah, it's good discipline that they've been showcasing. Boston Uprising, though, with Stand 1 holding on to this Earth Shatter, it's got to be huge. They don't have much else to work with. Either that or a pick-off. There's the Earth Shatter! The bubble was laid down, and it did connect, I believe, onto the tank line there of the Toronto Defiant. But is it going to be enough for the kills? No. If anything, it just pumped in the damage to build up the nano boost, and now the ult cycle continues. Sado moves forward, the Primal Rage, with the durability of that nano boost eventually fading away. They just need to hold on. The Boston Uprising have done a good job of pushing them back with that pick onto Hisu, and they have managed to win out this team fight. A good disengage, though, from the Toronto Defiant as well. Not overstepping themselves, cutting the losses.
Myunbong's been a phenom in the backline for Boston. Not only on map 1 being able to get so many picks with the Zen, but now he's made the move over to the Batiste, and he's charging up the Ant Matrixes enough to be able to push away Defiant. And now we see what's pretty much, it's not exactly a mirror, but the two teams are going to play in a similar style. The big difference maker, in my opinion, being that Defiant have that Lucio to be able to take disengages, whereas Boston have a very static Reinhardt comp.
Teleport up to the high ground. Punk trying to just dislodge them away from it, but now all falling down. What an ice wall, actually. Blocking everybody off there. Beautiful stuff. You see, sound barrier committed. That's the Toronto Defiant coming straight back into this one. Molten Core to try and stave them away. Valentine putting in the damage to the rest of their team with Sado falling. It's a great start for them. It's going to be another lost team fight. At the end of the day, the Toronto Defiant, they built up that sound barrier very quickly considering the swaps they made, but now they have built up a bit more. But still, I think Boston are going to be pretty pleased with the progress and defense that they managed to get off so far, especially with the stagger onto Michelle.
Extremely pleased. This was, I believe, over a 5-minute time bank. It may have been more like 4, but I think it was 5. I mean, that is a huge amount of time to be able to tick off the clock. And Toronto are not really coming up to any big win conditions here. Yeah, they've got window and like a wall to try and maybe get them onto the objective. But Boston are in pole position here to end up, you know, carving this out and holding it at 66%. Yeah. They were unlucky not to get the tick, though, as well.
I know.
Less than 0.1% away.
They missed a decimal somewhere. It's not even shown on the UI, but it wasn't there, and I'm 37! It's charged up the Deadeye right through the Amp Matrix, pierces right into them. That's Lastro taken out. Off to the side as well, nice little flashbang. It's going to catch them unaware with Sado. Unable to hold up the shield anymore. They're losing this team fight, getting staggered out of this one now with a final 50 seconds left. The Toronto Defiant not going to be having too much to work with. Obviously, the Blizzard is online for them, but the Boston Uprising in a very, very nice situation.
Brent, how do you lose your BAP to a Deadeye when you have a sim wall that you can play around, an ice wall, and an immortality field as well? There's something going wrong here with the Defiant's execution on these attacks, and I think it's because Boston have forced them into uncomfortable compositions. Yeah. I don't think Toronto look like they've, or they don't look like they've scrimmed too much of these kind of rush comps. So Custer's prediction looking pretty good right now, and that's a great boot from Faith. Everyone on the low ground with 10 seconds to go. This is so predictable the way they're pathing. Yeah,
and they're going to notice Blizzard's coming. It should be easy for Punk to eat up. They know it's online right now, coming straight through, off onto the side. The Blizzard There's a May wall actually to try and block it up, so it actually didn't end up getting 8. Locked up a lot of the players. Ultimates, it's a clash of styles with a sound barrier laid on top. The Toronto Defiant now investing absolutely everything, and it's got to be huge. Shadow with the shatter. That's knocked so many targets down to the floor. The final effort from them, a last hurrah, but they might be able to get it over the finish line yet. Finally getting some progress being made, and it's a clean sweep of a team fight and an eventual capture.
Incredible sound barrier from Ansun J. Keeps everybody alive after they were in awful positions. The Toronto Defiant had a pretty decent idea of how they wanted to attack. It's just, it was so predictable the way they're going through. So Boston had this great read. They were all positioned perfectly. And then Ansun J's sound barrier comes through, saves them, and allows for the Blizzard to come off. Nice had to hold on to it forever because, like you said, Punk just knows. He knows that the Blizzard is coming. A lot of mind games happening in that final fight. But once again, crucially, Brent, the Boston Uprising let a great win condition slip through their fingers. Map 1, it happened on Mecha Base. The win just slips away from them. Right here again, I feel like that final fight is another example of that, where otherwise holding them to 66% would have been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think playing into these rush compositions, you can see the Blizzard was able to get off there. Ton of ultimates committed.
But the sound barrier buys time for the Blizzard. The Blizzard freezes up stand 1 and allows for the shatter. So it all comes back to how you're actually setting up those opportunities for the big plays. Yeah. I mean, Sado has the freest shatter of his life there because they're caught in the Blizzard, and Nice was only able to do that because his team kept him alive.
It's interesting to note as well, I think, that in NA at least, I was reading some of the social media messages from the Paris Eternal players, and they were saying they weren't used to playing against the rush comp. They were caught unaware and forced to adapt on the fly. I think there's been a bit of a difference, at least in terms of the practice that some of these teams are getting, where they're not used or not expecting a lot of these Reinhardt rush compositions at times. The longer this series goes on, the more Toronto might get used to what Boston are chucking at them, because they are going to be playing a classic composition here, the Lucio Moira.
Yeah, playing it with the Echo Reaper here as well. So a lot of pressure onto Defiant, but that is a fantastic counter dive by Sado. Valentine, though, the focusing beam is great from him. His Echo's been up and down this season, but that is a monster performance.
Yeah, kites them all the way back with the flight, sends in the bomb, sends in the beam. It all comes together. I mean, Echo still puts out a ridiculous amount of damage, even without the pocket.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a speedy capture here for the Boston Uprising.
Again, it's the pace behind that Lucio. Faith trying to pick Lucio as much as possible, it seems, in this series. And Defiant getting run over by it there. Once this ult cycle comes online, though, Defiant are going to be in a decent position, but Myunbong is always going to have his ult up before Lastro. So there is a timing window here. A speed boost and the Coalescence could give them at least one tick.
Coalescence has got to be massive. An aggressive fade right into the back line. It's going to lead right into this one, but they're not getting too much done, actually. Sado, look at the way he's just kind of disjointing them as well, just battering away at every single angle, and it's the Toronto Defiant with the 2 picks they needed. Off the back of that, the rest of the team's going to be falling like dominoes. The Boston Uprising composition really relies on the whole team as a group working together as one solid unit. And one of the worst team fights to lose, honestly. The Boston Uprising were hoping they could take that in one fell swoop, but now they've allowed the Toronto Defiant to set up in this defensive position and rotate these ultimates with the nano boost online.
And this is what we've seen so many times this season. You hold forwards as the defensive team, get the nano, dive with Sado, but Boston do have the Lucio to be able to disengage from this, potentially. We'll see how Boston... I mean, they have a Reaper as well. They could just try and match it and kill Sado. Hard when he's nano boosted, but they've made him scared. Defiant have fallen back.
It's a hard engage into the backline here with the Death Blossom as well. The bubble's going to be eating up a lot of this one. Rally armor though from Ansun J. That's going to give them so much health to work with. Valentine just commits into that self-destruct, obviously, at the tail end of the Echo duplication. Not going to be getting too much, in fact, staggered out of this one still. With Michelle falling, could be an opportunity. No, not quite. The Toronto Defiant absolutely in position to clean it up.
Defiant used nano, right? So that does give you a little bit of a window of opportunity. Also, the combination of the Lucio and the Reaper does seem to be a deterrent for Defiant diving aggressively on defense. The player as well that we haven't highlighted too much of that's doing work for Toronto is Hisu. On Tracer right now is doing so much in these team fights.
Yeah. Has the pulse bomb, and you can see that the way Boston play, like I said before, they have to remain grouped up. It sets up for some easy pulse bombs. A lot of pressure on Punk to try and eat them up coming their way in their direction. Now with the bubble dropped down as well, that's a Coalescence right into the back line. Toronto just waiting it out here, and that's the pulse bomb right onto Valentine. Diving in, nice, just about building up that Primal Rage at the end of it. Just going to be surviving as well, staying a bit longer in the form of Winston. And it should be just a cut-off team fight just like that.
Faith was getting primaled there. Potentially, if Sado had not been up in his face, maybe we would have seen a sound barrier investment. Unlikely even then, though, considering that Valentine was the first pick. But Defiant have so many tools that they can use to try and deal with the Boston Uprising. One Bionade is devastating against a Moira Lucio comp. Then you also have the Nanos, the Primals, the Pulse Bombs. The Defiant's composition is the meta comp on Anubis, or at least the tanks and the supports are the meta comp for a reason.
You can see that they're not going to be able to go for that, again, defensive hold here, because the speed at which Boston take the fight is just way too quick. Already jumping straight into them with Nice going down, and Sado didn't really get too much done with that nano boost. He was chasing targets aimlessly, it felt at times, but luckily the collapse is there, right onto the bridge. The Boston Uprising still trying to attempt to turn this around, but eventually they're going to say, no, we're giving this team fight up. Try not to lose anybody else, but the way that they're holding this as well, it's going to be the DMAC on top of it. Boston might need to be looking down now at some compositional changes here. It hasn't really been working for them. The Defiant have read nicely how to kind of operate around this kind of Lucio Moira comp.
Yeah, I think what Boston are looking for here, rather than a compositional swap, is to punish a dive from Sado, or maybe find a pick on Hisu. I think they need to try and catch somebody that's pressuring them early to set up for a 6v5 fight.
They're still trying to go. They've definitely got the speed for it. Trying to force out the cooldowns. There's the fade gone. Hisu's going to be calling that one. Definitely an opportunity for the play. 37 into the back. That is a beautiful one. The ultimate goes off about a hitch. That's going to be 3 players down, and now the ultimate. Oh, it's really getting sticky. 85% and counting. The Coalescence just beaming down Michelle. No one able to really touch this one, but Sado just about gets in there with the Primal Rage. Maybe able to stall this one out along with the duplicate as well. Nice, just trying to build up the bomb. Not able to get it as well. Would have been crucial for them, but still the turnaround comes round. Hisu with the post bomb. It takes out Myungbong, and now a lack of healing for the Boston Uprising. How are they going to be remaining in this team fight? I think they've realized it themselves as well, as Faith just tries to exit out of the scene of the crime. Not quite enough. 98%. Stop dead short. Literally microseconds away, it felt like, from potentially getting that capture.
Yeah, and the 2 players that managed to keep it alive were Nice, utilizing his duplicate to be able to keep the point alive, and Sado overlaying it with his Primal. Both players desperate to keep that objective alive, and then Hisu comes out of the play. You do not often see Pulse Bomb kills onto a Moira. You've got to force the fade out early and then still find that kill. And now Boston have gone around to a Reinhardt comp themselves. This is going to be easy pickings, I feel, for this nano boost onto Sado. If he can try and build up a Primal as well in this fight. Hello. Nano boost confirmed. There we go. Hello.
There it is. Confirmed in the end. Sado's going to be getting this one. Forces out the sound barrier though. Still taking a ton of damage, but wants to build up this Primal Rage. It's the one tool they need, but look at the beam. Myungbong's taken out. I'm 37. A lot of pressure on him to try and turn things, but I don't think it's going to be doable. The Toronto Defiant had every ultimate that they needed to try and shut that one right in its trap, and that's going to be the cap denied. The Toronto Defiant winning out map number 2 here, 1 step closer to moving forwards into the play-ins, 1 step closer to knocking out the Boston Uprising.
This season for the Toronto Defiant, like I said earlier, has been the best they've had as a franchise, but it has still firmly been a gatekeeper season. They've only played against the Boston Uprising once so far this year, even though they've been in roughly similar territory in the West. And that was a 3-0 win for Boston. That is not going to be replicated here today, but Toronto have an opportunity to get their revenge. A 3-0 as they head into the next round of play-ins would make it difficult for the Shock to decide who to play against, perhaps.
Yeah, loads of scary teams, honestly, all around. As we're heading deeper and deeper into the playoffs, I think, as well. Especially if you look at the quality of the competition. The Toronto Defiant, I mean, if they're currently seeing a bit of a swing of momentum, potentially the best Overwatch they've played all season yet, and on the other side of things, you've got the Washington Justice as well. I think you're looking at this as Houston and Shock, and you're thinking, I don't want to go up against either of these teams at the moment. Still, this series right here is not over just yet, and we might see potentially a final map, or maybe not. Can the Boston Uprising kind of swing things around? We're going to be finding out just after this short break, so don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
This could be it, the last chance for the Boston Uprising here as we're heading into map 3 in this series. Obviously, it's going to be their map pick. They get to choose in this format here with the play-ins and the playoffs. The loser gets to pick, and it's the Toronto Defiant really just looking large and in charge when it comes to the course of this series. Arguably, map number 1 was kind of handed to them, but the last round was not convincing really from the side of the Boston Uprising. But this is it here. You can't focus on the past, you've got to focus on the present, which is going to be this upcoming map.
But if you do look to the past for just a moment, you'll see that these maps have been very winnable. And so the Boston Uprising should not lose hope. They're going to pick King's Row here, and that has to start the reverse sweep. I think that's a really interesting pick. It fits into the idea of them wanting to play Lucio comps, maybe wanting to play more Reinhardt and force Sado onto the Rhine. What do you think about this, Brent? Like, what kind of answers do you think the Toronto Defiant are going to have? Because my brain immediately goes over to Hisu.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Hisu on the Hangzhou has been a bit of a menace. Hangzhou on King's Row as well, in particular. Quite a nice pick, honestly. Synergizes with the way that, I suppose, the sightlines play off of one another. And it's a good answer, honestly, if they are going to be playing the rush all around, I think. Because the guy has just been dominant. I mean, look at these statistics here in terms of solo kills, critical hit kills, the deaths as well. I mean, he's ranking very high up in terms of the overall rankings out of 14 players, you can see at the bottom there. The guy, definitely a dominant force, underrated at times in his career as well. And against the Boston Uprising, I think they're in a very dangerous spot, Josh, because the longer this series goes on, the better Toronto are going to be getting at playing against this rush composition that Boston are bringing out. It's pretty evident that Toronto don't want to be leaning into this one unless they feel like they need the mirror to match and break through something. And I think the more time, the longer this series goes, the less likely it is that the Boston Uprising are going to get those opportunities to kind of take the Toronto Defiant off guard a little bit.
I think for Boston, it's very important here that they're able to play a comp that forces Toronto into a mirror. I think that does appear to be the circumstances in which Toronto's looked a little shaky, and there are so many viable compositions heading into play-ins and playoffs before the meta really solidifies itself that even though it's been 4 weeks since we saw Boston play, that's not a huge amount of time to figure out what's going on, especially when you're not scrimming against everybody in the league. You really need match experience to try and boil down what the best compositions are. And these teams don't have time. They just have to pick something they're comfortable in and hope that this new patch works with it. Boston are going to start here with the Hangzhou and the Ball and the Zen, almost baiting the Defiant into trying this, I feel. And Hisu's going to start out on the Sombra here, but maybe we'll see him flex over at some point on King's Row.
Yeah, went away against my expectations of what to think here for the Boston Uprising, but I think something new is promising, honestly, for them to get things started here. And yeah, you can see Toronto Defiant are going to be playing a pretty similar composition in terms of, I suppose, the playstyle with the Wrecking Balls themselves. Valentine taken out, though, by the whip shot. Just trying to play off, I suppose, the Discord Orbs coming from the high ground of Myeongbong. Sanjay needs to be careful. Faster shield bash just to safety here. The positioning is being gained. Look at that arrow. I'm 37. What is that?
And another one immediately afterwards onto Neist as well. Crazy stuff. Woo. You know, hey, Brent, these are the kind of plays when you see your opponent get the kills on Hangzhou that make you think, I could do that. I could do that.
Yeah.
Let me pick that one. We'll see if Hisu goes for the ego challenge at some point here. But he's 55% to an EMP. And if I'm 37 had not found those two picks, the Defiant were in control.
Yeah, in terms of positioning, they had everything. Trying to build up a bit more now with the Pulse Bomb comes in. That's a good power drive, but it's a little bit out of line still. The kills go through anyway. The Boston Uprising get it there with Anson J taken out by the Dragon Strike, and Valentine, his eyes set there onto Nice, just trying to chase him down. Just giving up in
himself.
the end, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But okay, Hisu now is up to his EMP. It's been a relatively slow one to charge, looking at like a minute 45 before he gets it online. And he's got to worry about Myeongbong. Last time Lastro went down relatively early with a Discord Orb on him. I'd like to see something similar here. Myeongbong's going to be playing the sightlines a little more effectively because he's the defender and he has access to them. They've got to be cautious about it. Double support ults are so good for countering.
Oh wow, that arrow. Okay, Hisu forced to reveal himself there. He's taking a lot of damage. That's a pulse bomb from the high ground. Nice doesn't get too much, but they do get 2 ticks. So under Defiant in control. And now the contest has to come through from Boston. The rally armor though, you're gonna D-mech onto Punk along with the Transcendence as well. Hisu, the EMP, did go out there. Maybe forcing the Transcendence there in response, but they have a better one now. Lastro comes across the point, giving his team the extra heals. It's all on Valentine. What a stick off to the side, but it was on the Transcending. Oh my goodness, the Zenyatta. Yeah, and that's not going to be getting too much. The second of invulnerability that he was granted, not enough to get that kill in the end, pushing him away from the point. The Boston Uprising still looking for ways to come back into this one. They do have the numbers advantage, and with Lastro still alive, They have so much more up their sleeves, I suppose, than the Discord Orbs as well.
It might sound too early, Brent, but I want to see Boston swap. They're playing this composition worse positionally, and they don't have the same level of firepower coming from their Tracer player. I think Valentine, you know, we've seen him on the flex DPS where he can look great on certain things, but I don't think they look like they're going to be able to beat the Defiant on ball comps here. I think the faster they swap over to something Lucio-based, the better it's going to be for them. I'm 37 as well. All right. How are you going to synergize? He does provide a bit more stability to the back line. Valentine in a sneaky position here too.
They've got to try and coordinate something though. Power driver off into the side, but you can't play into it, I suppose. The rally going off on Anson J. That's a good pulse. That's going to be finding the target there with Yongbong going down. And the Toronto Defiant on the attack going to be steadily moving forwards. They have to take care of Valentine here, but the pressure is there. They force out the blinks, force out the recall. Moving forward, Sato looks a little bit annoyed almost at the state of what's happening.
Hisu can start setting up pretty far forwards now. They've got Nice and Sato playing together, and then Hisu deep in enemy territory, waiting for an opportunity. You can see him just behind both DPS picks right now, and that's devastating. I mean, that could just seal the deal for Checkpoint B immediately. They might not even need this EMP.
That's the mines though, scattered. Anson J falls because of it. Lastro trying to clear as many of them as possible, create a path for his team to play around. In the back line, look at this. Hisu in trouble, but a moment, has the peel necessary, but they've bought enough time here. The Boston Uprising on the defense now, they've got to try and push through. I'm37 is in such a dangerous position, still gets the shots though. Hisu falls. The remake online for them, and Boston are going to start to get the players back in. They have to set up something nice. Post bomb is going to be the connection, but not enough. Onto a target at least that was low enough here. Sato gets chased down, and nice the tracking. That's I'm37 taken, removed. 1 minute and 30 seconds left for them to try and push this one forwards. But the rally as well, they are really staving them off here, Josh.
Only for a moment though. Here comes Hisu with EMP, stand one dies, checkpoint B in their favor, and now Toronto can really start the momentum going. Boston have found some glimmers of hope, some moments. I'm37 with his 2 kills on Hangzhou, some decent picks here and there, but overall this is Defiant firmly in control. All of these scrappy fights they've been able to turn. They've always been able to engineer themselves advantages, and now Hisu moves over onto the Hangzhou as well. Here's where I want to get a heat check from Hisu. Is he still in that insane form?
What a stick. Yeah, Myunbong, I mean, just taken out. Nothing to stop it. Wasn't 8 up.
We're not even going to be able to see Brent. They're going to win too quickly for us to be able to see if Hisu's in god form. Nice and Sato are doing enough themselves.
Yeah, this card is just sailing in. 2 minutes remaining. They're probably going to be able to get a contest. Stand one. Nope, moved off to the side. No power driver for you. See you later. Right down to the bottom of King's Row. And that is just, I mean, dominating, I think, from the Toronto Defiant. Like you said, Josh, some moments, some glimmers from the Boston Uprising where they stopped them here and there. But ultimately, Toronto Defiant, they look like the better team here.
Yeah, a little bit of a wonky compositional pick, I think, from Boston. It definitely subverted our expectations going for the Ball Zen kind of pick. And to be fair to them, they did find some success running that on Busan. They had opportunities to win that map. Oh, yeah. But here on King's Row, if you're going to pick this map, obviously you're going to play what you played in scrims, right? You're not going to change things up just based on a whim. But I would have liked to see them try and focus a bit more. I think it would have been theoretically better had they gone towards more Lucio-based comps, because trying to go up against Toronto on ball comps and trying to match Valentine on Tracer into Hisu or Nice, trying to match the Hangzhous or the Sombras, you just don't have the heavy hitters to be able to handle Toronto on this comp. So you've got to lean elsewhere. And this is not looking great here for Boston's chances of making it through these play-ins. Toronto have definitely come out to play, playing some of the best Overwatch they've played all season towards the end of it here. And it just seems too much.
Yeah.
What a play.
Magical play. Was it the whip shot into the boosters? I didn't quite see it. Was it just the boosters?
I thought it was just the boosters, but potentially there was some whip shot action there. I'd have to go back and watch. But that was like, that was... Michelle just called corner pocket and punted Stan 1 into the hole.
Boston are going to be leaning back onto this Moira Lucio composition now. Something that they've probably practiced, but you need to find with a bit of pace and speed.
I like this look a lot more, though, Brent. I like this look a lot more.
Yeah, they've definitely looked more comfortable playing this.
And they're going to be able to rotate, build Myunbong's ult so fast. Oh, they lose I'm37 a little bit too early there. This is going to cause them some problems. They should probably go for the full reset and try and just push with a coalescence afterwards, but maybe they try and invest. I mean, I'm37's coming off the spawn.
Yeah, that's going to be the coalescence. Toronto just looking to try and dodge and juke around the corners. Myunbong just desperate to get any sort of value he can out of it, but he's taken out. Still, it's a battle taking place in close quarters, and that is going to be favoring the Boston Uprising's composition. They are finding their way a bit of a win here and there. Eventually the players are taken out, and with the closer spawns, I think Boston should be able to comfortably hold on to this one. I don't know if there's going to be a chance to recontest with the Toronto Defiant. They are playing a very mobile composition, and it looks like they're gearing up for it.
Yeah. Hisu's going to be able to zip in here, maybe try and force out a fade, look for a pulse afterwards too. Nice getting close to his duplicate too, as another player that can delay this.
Didn't end up getting it. Hisu taking a lot of damage, but with Faye falling, that is not ideal. Lastro going to be committing to Transcendence now as well. Nice with this duplicate, has that self-destruct, going to be just letting it loose there at the choke point, just clearing and pushing them all the way back. Boston just a bit too split right now, only able to get 89% off the back of that one. That recontest on the Toronto Defiant was expertly timed.
Boston, I feel, are lacking some proactivity. They need the comm there to speed boost aggressively into the backline and look for a pick. They're trying to rely on their ults. They're going to have a lot of ults this time around. Sound Barrier is great for being able to provide that extra sustainability so they can get in and attack Lastro and Ansuk J.
No way!
Oh,
what a stick! They had no idea Hisu was there. Just didn't quite check the corner.
He had the invisibility cloak on.
He did. Yeah, little gift. Not sure who gave it to him, but that's going to be an instant team fight win anyway.
You've got it. You've got it.
King's Row can't be that far away from Hogwarts, right? Probably just popped in.
No,
Boston,
no,
I mean, the good part about that, though, is 90 seconds on the clock. Boston still have their big ultimates to be able to work with. So it reset them, but only for about 20 seconds. It's not a disadvantage economically.
Coalescence comes through. Valentine, though, he ended up using almost everything when he was in the form of the Echo. Now the duplicate comes through. Boston layering it on top. That's a sound barrier to try and win it. They've taken so much damage, though. And again, Hisu, he's built it up again. A two-piece. Stam 1 Myunbong taken out. Removed from the fight. They're trying to stay alive. It's a clean exit and cut off away from this one. Still, not too much here. Only a single tick needs to be gained. If the Boston Uprising come back in with a couple of more picks, it could be turnable. Valentine needs to stay alive, but he's eventually going to get rolled through. Sado takes him out. But now the bodies are on the point. The Boston Uprising are here, getting that capture up. Another roll through, but boop away for Sado. Not going to be able to contest this one. Transcendence healing, not enough. I think it got cut off there by the tail end of the bubble. So it didn't actually connect onto Sado to keep him up as he was rolling to contest. Could have been a critical placement there of that bubble, and in the end, it is the Boston Uprising. We end up capping it up. With a bit of time now, just about under 3 minutes. It's not ideal, but at least they have a lifeline here, Josh.
Exactly. It's not much, but they got to take it. Myunbong close to another coalescence, though. Toronto Defiant are going to be able to play in a lot of these weird angles on King's Row. Their composition is so mobile that they can scatter. Even though it's built in quite a linear way, their comp can play the high grounds, can hide inside houses, that kind of thing. Look at Stan 1's position in here. He's going to try and get behind them and primal for a setup. Has anyone spotted him? Yes, Hisu. Scouted. He can't find the backline. He was looking for Ansuk J and Lastro, and they're just nowhere to be found. There they are.
The team is going to be backing them up, though. Boston Uprising have eventually pushed all the way back in, so they are grouped up as 6. A lot of damage off onto Michelle.
Here's the call.
Too aggressively into this fight. There's the coalescence in the end, and it's the duplicate as a response to it. Nice just wants to try and build up this self-destruct to try and push them away, but with Sado going down, it's a great start for them. The Boston Uprising could look to try and push this one forward. That's going to be a nice stun. I'm37 cancelled out of the Death Blossom in the end. Hisu not going to be getting too much done with that pulse bomb either. 8 up. Self-destruct over the top. Toronto pushed away around the corner just to try and dodge it. Out of the line of sight now. Boston still continuing carrying this one.
What a pile drive!
At the floor, what a power drive right into it. Follows it up with the sticky bombs and the mines. So much damage, and now the Boston Uprising have decided to take it aggressively right into them. They need picks though, and they need them now if they're trying to win this one. It's so difficult for them though with no real key ultimates. Valentine has to do work, but with Valentine taken out, it's not looking quite too doable. Still, stand one with this Primal Rage. Might be able to create a bit of magic, but with Hisu tracking down the stray targets, Boston are running out of fumes, running on fumes.
Well, this 1v1 is so crucial, though, genuinely. The Moira being able to stay alive there allows the rest of Boston Uprising to coalesce around the cart and continue this payload push. Hisu is behind them. They know that Hisu is lease. They got to keep an eye on him.
Hisu's lease. This cart dangerously close, though, to the objective, and this is what Boston are looking for. No ultimates for them. The coalescence is going to get built up relatively quickly. Anson J now with the rally. That's just the response to push them away. They force out the fade. That's what they were looking for, and they get the kill. Myunbong taken out. Pulse bomb doesn't quite connect, but the mines will do the job. 23 seconds left. The more staggered this teamfight gets, the worse it's going to be for the Boston Uprising.
And Toronto Defiant, this season has been their best. The last time they played against Boston, it was a 3-0, and they were on the receiving end of it. To be able to make a statement like this in the play-ins would be absolutely emphatic. There's only a few seconds left. Can anyone on the Uprising even touch? Just about. I'm 37 gets there, Brent.
They take a lot of damage in the process, but maybe it's turnable. Valentine, a lot of pressure to Coalescence just to try and beam them all down here. The Toronto Defiant, though, have got all the ultimates really they need. The Transcendence eventually comes out, and Lastro's going to be healing up the rest of his team. Boston, the sound barrier a bit late, connects onto a lot of the characters. They might be able to try and stay alive in this one, but with Stamon falling, oh, it's not too good at all. Still, self-destruct. It's a last-ditch effort. Michelle, though, pushes them all the way off the objective once more. Rolling through, Sada just trying to beat down Punk so he can't get back into the mech. And the players, the Toronto Defiant, they regroup and they posture them off the point in the end. GG's in the chat. And it's the Toronto Defiant who move further forwards here in our play-ins. The Boston Uprising with a conclusion and an end to their season.
And a good season it was as well. Just a moment to focus on Boston before we congratulate the winners. Their season has ended, sure, but what a difference compared to 2020. Picking up a bunch of upcoming players that have proven themselves, giving another opportunity to players like I'm 37, and they exceeded expectations. No one was really expecting Boston to go, what, 7-9 after losing soon at the beginning of this season. They bought the dip, they improved from last year. The only way was up, as Jonathan would say. And they can be proud of what they accomplished, but they will make it no further through the play-ins. The honor of that goes to the Toronto Defiant, who absolutely earned it. There was barely any emotional response at the end of that match, Brent. Toronto knew they were the better team here today.
Another day in the office for them, it felt like. And look at them, they're all out of their seats right now. Probably thinking, okay, well, got to prep for our next match, which is going to be coming up tomorrow. Exactly. That's a championship mentality, I think. You need that to really just try and steamroll ahead. And we've said it many times, actually, Josh, over the course of this series, but this is the best that the Toronto Defiant has really looked. They've really elevated themselves towards the end of the season. That's the most important, I think, takeaway as well, is that, you know, we've looked past in the Overwatch League's history, and I think of plenty of teams that have found the right footings at the right time, right getting hot at the playoff section. I mean, Washington last year, we have London from 2018 as well. It doesn't really matter too much how you do in the regular season, but it just matters how you're really going to be finishing near the end. And Toronto Defiant looking like they are pretty comfortable in terms of knowing what they want to play and how well they've been playing. Let's take a look at our player of the match as well, so I'm not just monologuing about them. And it is going to be going to Lastro as an individual as well. His performance was fantastic, I think, on the Zenyatta as well. Always with the right target with the Discord Orbs. The Transcendences were perfect as well to push his team over the line.
Yeah, he had a great performance today, especially when he was able to... I mean, what I was impressed with was his performance on Anubis in particular. But being able to pump out a huge amount of not just healing, but offensive pressure when he was on the Ana too. And, okay, Hisu steals the show a little when it comes to King's Row, but this roster for the Toronto Defiant is filled full of players that have had success before. We already knew that Lastro was a proven quantity heading into the Toronto Defiant this year around. Same with Jesus, same with Sato, to some extent same with Michelle as well. And for this team, it's all about just pulling their talent together and finding a system that works well, finding a good read on the meta that works for them too. That's what I'm looking for Toronto. They don't look like a team that's on a crazy heater that's going to go on a wild upset run and upset everybody, but they still are looking like a team that you have to give respect to. You're not just going to be able to barrel them over.
Yeah, a difficult decision, I think, for our higher seeded teams in the play-ins. The Shock, which is the team that's going to be picking their opponent, I believe, in the post-show today. So obviously you're not going to be wanting to miss that one.
Ren, who would you go for? If you're the San Francisco Shock's coaching staff right now, of the teams you saw today, Washington against Toronto, who do you feel like would be the safer pick if you want to guarantee your playoff spot?
I think Washington have the scariest peaks, honestly, or the scarier peaks as a team. I think with the talent that they've got, if they come online at the right time at the playoffs, and you don't really know what they're capable of, that's a scary prospect. With Toronto, you kind of know what you're getting. You're getting a team that's gradually gotten better over the course of the season, and they've instilled in that discipline. Overall, though, I mean, it's a very hard task because, listen, we've had some 3 Overwatch today. It's been pretty one-sided affairs. It's hard to grasp just how good your opponents are when that ends up happening. Obviously, an interview with Hisu as well coming up after this break as well, and that's going to do it for the matches of the day. But of course, stick around. You know you're not going to be wanting to miss this one, of course. The interview and a bit of trash talk potentially from Mr. Delisi as well. He gets to pick the Shock's opponents moving into the matches tomorrow. We'll see you in just a few.
먹으면 컴퓨터에 해. 넣어놨어요.
나 켜. 잠깐만 걷다 먹었어. 야 우리 순대 켜하면서 민혁이 형.
야 루시보다
내 카타 돼. 동훈아 걷자. 3에서.
와우.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show. We're joined now by Hisu from Toronto Defiant. Hisu, congratulations on the win. 자, 희수 선수 안녕하세요. 그리고 오늘 승리 너무나 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
Alright, Hisu says thank you. Let's jump right into the question. My first question for you, Hisu, is Toronto Defiant ran with a lot of dive compositions today against the Boston Uprising. We saw a lot of Wrecking Ball dive and also a little bit of Winston dive as well. Was this to counter Boston's playstyle, or were you guys just playing to your strength? 자, 첫 번째 질문은 오늘 보스턴과의 경기에서 좀 굉장히 좀 다이브 조합을 많이 본 것 같아요. 저희 또 토론토 쪽에서 뭐 레킹볼 아니면 또 윈스턴 조금 사용을 하신 거를 제가 봤는데 이 다이브 조합을 이렇게 자주 썼던 이유가 보스턴의 플레이 스타일을 좀 어떻게 카운터를 하기 위해서인지 아니면 그냥 토론토 팀의 어떻게 보면은 제일 잘하는 뭐 조합을 아니면 제일 편안한 픽으로 이렇게 경기를 하기 위해서 쓰셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 저희가 일부러 보스턴을 노리고 그 조합한 게 아니라 저희가 다이브를 더 선호하는 선수들도 많고 그리고 저희 약간 벙커 같은 조합은 저희가 너무 답답해서 그런 조합을 못 하겠더라고요. 하긴 하지만 그래도 저희는 다이브를 더 선호해서 저희가 더 잘하는 거 하자 해가지고 제가 트레이서도 원래 잘 안 했었는데 연습해가지고 이런 다이브를 좀 많이 보여드린 것 같아요. 결론은 저희가 잘하는 거 한 것 같습니다.
Right. It was definitely not something that we came up with to counter Boston's playstyle. It was more for our sake because a lot of our players on our team really like dive compositions and we feel comfortable running dive compositions as well. It's not that we can't play bunker style. We can play the bunker if we have to actually play it, but we would rather play dive if given the choice because that is what we like to do and that is what we think we are good at. And because we tend to be utilizing a lot more dive. That is why I had to practice a lot more tracer. I haven't used tracer a lot throughout the season, but because we are fully committing to the dive compositions, I had to practice tracer, and that is why we're utilizing a lot of these Winston or Wrecking Ball dive compositions. All right, my next question for you, Hisu, is. You know, with today's win, of course, you guys are just one step closer to making it into the playoffs. So what can the Toronto Defiants do to actually make it into the playoffs and have a chance to win it all this season? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이제 한 경기만 더 승리를 거두시게 되면 이제 프로브로 진출을 하게 되실 텐데요. 어떻게 하면은 토론토 팀이 다음 경기를 승리를 하고 프로까지 진출을 할 수 있을까요?
일단 저희가 실수를 일단 최대한 줄이고 저희가 하던 대로 다이브 조합도 하지만 저희가 의외로 다른 조합도 많이 준비했어서 상대가 뭘 하든 그거에 대해서 맞게 대응만 잘하면은 저희가 충분히 하와이를 갈 수 있다 생각해서 저희는 그렇게 해서 갈 겁니다. 잘하면 될 것 같아요.
Right.
원래 하던 대로만 하면.
잘하면. 알겠습니다. Right. I think, but the biggest thing for us is to try to make less mistakes in game. Also, like I mentioned, we are really good at the dive compositions, but we are practicing a lot, not only dive but other compositions as well to counter and fight off against whatever our opponents' compositions or whatever the other teams are running. So if we just play to our strength, if we play like how we practice in our scrims, then I think we have a chance to go to Hawaii and go into the playoffs. All right, that is it for the interview. Hisu, thank you so much for your time and good luck tomorrow. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 희수 선수 너무도 수고하셨습니다. 감사합니다.
정말 감사합니다.
Thank you so much. All right, let's head back to the desk.
Congratulations, of course, to the Toronto Defiant. Thank you so much, Danny, for getting the inside scoop. And this gotta be one of my favorite answers of players. You know, like the classic. If we play like we do in scrims, we got this.
It's
like
true
the
though, Zoe. Come on.
I know
it's true.
it is
As a
true.
player, it's so true. I feel for
Can I be honest? Because you know how I do a lot of these interviews, and a lot of players tend to say similar phrases. So when I hear a couple, like the first word of that sentence, I immediately just, okay, I know, I'm gonna go with this sentence. It's just like, we have this sentence.
I love it. Now, anyway, I mean, this has been a quick first day of playing matches, but don't turn off those streams. just yet, because we do have Super standing by from the San Francisco Shock, and he will select their opponent for tomorrow's match in just a bit. But first, let's chat about the match we did get to watch just now. What have we learned about the Toronto Defiant, Costa?
I think we learned that they're going to try and stick with the style that we know them for from the Countdown Cup when they did look so strong. So obviously, I flip-flopped unsuccessfully, but I think Boston did sort of do what I expected them to do. They played more of these Lucio Brawl compositions, but Toronto Defiant, they seemed ready for it. They had it on lock. They understood how they wanted to play the composition around it, and Boston just didn't really stand a chance. And that's a great look for the Toronto Defiant moving further into the playoffs, because they've shown an ability to play the Wrecking Ball, but not only that, on Temple of Anubis, we actually saw them get the win playing that Brawl of the Reinhardt of their own as well. So, as Hisu just said in that post-game interview, they wanting to play that dive style, which they're comfortable with, they're strong with, but they are also willing to play other things if that comes to it, which is very important in the playoffs, where you're playing against so many teams, so many different styles. You need to be able to have that adaptation, and I'm really excited for the Toronto Defiant because this is the best result they've ever had as a franchise, and I think they're finally stepping up to a point which they can really get to, because there was a lot of hype around this team of they have Sato, a veteran from the Philadelphia Fusion, they have Hisu as well, and they're just sort of really coming into their own as a team. Will they be able to get over some of the other teams in the league? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'd be happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they rocked up with confidence, and that's all you can ask for, really, if you're a player or a fan of said team. Now, it is time to find out who the Shock will be picking for their first play-in match happening tomorrow. So let's bring him in. Super from the San Francisco Shock is joining us to select their opponents. So welcome to the show, Super.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
I was really worried that you're just going to leave it at hey.
No.
There we go. You wouldn't do me like that, even though it's been a while since we got to chat. Now, what did you see today, just to dive straight into this, from both of those winning teams? Anything that may or may not have swayed your or your team's decision, and which one you're going to pick tomorrow?
Actually, we think that both Washington and Toronto played. They both played pretty well, and I don't think either of them really had much trouble with their matches. But we still figure one of the teams that we would prefer to play. So.
Got it. I got it. Okay, keeping your cards close to your chest, but it's time now anyway to throw down the virtual glove and make your pick. So, who's going to be the lucky opponent for the Shock tomorrow?
We will be playing Toronto tomorrow. That is our pick.
Right on. I want to elaborate anything which made that decision easier for you?
Honestly, I just feel like we just think that's our best chance, and we're gonna go with what we think is what we're comfortable with and confident with. So we decided to choose Toronto.
No, I mean, I think personally it's a great pick. I'd never, if I can avoid playoff DK, I will avoid playoff DK. So right, we're gonna have the Shock taking on the Toronto Defiant, and we do actually have Hisu from the Defiant standing by as well with Danny.
Oh wow. Hey.
That's awkward.
그 이제 슈퍼 선수가 토론토 팀을 이제 다음 상대로 고르셨고요. 이유는 이길 확률이 그나마 높지 않을까라고 하셨는데 그거에 대해서 하신 말씀 있나요?
일단 제가 반대로 쇼크 입장이었어도 저희를 고를 것 같고요. 그리고 막상 진짜 저희 뽑았다고 들으니까 뭔가 군대 영장 날라온 느낌이네요. 많이 좀 내일 파이팅 하겠습니다.
Okay. All right. So I asked Hisu, is there anything that you want to say after hearing what Super had to say? And Hisu replied by saying, if I was part of the San Francisco Shock as well, if I was in your shoe, I would have picked Toronto Defiant as well. It sort of feels like I'm getting the letter from the Korean military, because all Korean males have to go to the military service. So it was, something that we couldn't avoid. So we are going to just try our best against the San Francisco Shock.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Anything you would like to add, Super? You want to say anything to Hisu? I can translate for you.
Not really. Just business is business, and see you tomorrow, I guess.
네, 슈퍼 선수가 일은 일이니까 뭐 그냥 그럼 내일 좋은 경기 한번 해보도록 하자고 합니다.
네, 알겠습니다.
Alright, he just says okay.
Very good.
Awkward.
You both for joining us, of course, Super as well as Hisu. Best of luck to both teams for their match tomorrow. It is their chance to make it to the playoffs in Hawaii. So this is how our bracket will look like tomorrow with all the teams filled in, and we'll determine which two will advance. Now, don't go anywhere because our best of the day is coming up right after a very quick break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
We love to see that great reaction from the Justice fans in DC and here, of course, as well. Luckily, the entire desk were, of course, rooting for the Justice. We knew they can do it, and they got it done. Yeah, that's
wait.
the story I'm rolling
Hey, sorry.
with.
Don't worry, we'll leave it later.
I just want to say, so far,
Yes.
in the play-in predictions, me and Danny are on top, 2-0.
That is true.
That's funny because in the actual predictions,
Play-in
you're at the
predictions,
bottom.
Danny.
Let's go! We're winning. Let's take it all the way.
Nice.
It's a
We
thing.
love to see it. We love to
Production
see
is a
popping
thing.
up when it matters the
Production,
least. That's
I
the
want
way
the
to go.
crown. If we win, if
Come
Johnny
on.
and I win, we want the
Get the
crown, that red
standings.
crown.
Get the
One
standings.
day in, and
mix
he's
them
asking
up,
for
you
a
know,
crown.
like fix it. Me and Danny were 2-0. Danny,
Even with those predictions right, even if they were to count, neither of you would catch up to me and Custa.
Yeah.
Like we're actually reigning
Well,
supreme on that scoreboard.
we will
and
be
there's
close.
nothing you can do.
But this is
No,
the
it would not be
play-in
close.
predictions leaderboard, okay?
okay.
It's just
Well,
the play-ins,
sure.
and me
It's
and
a clean,
Danny were in the
yeah,
lead.
it's a clean slate. We're winning.
Of the 4 matches.
2-0,
that we're
2-0.
predicting.
You guys have 1-1, 1-1. Haha, losers.
You want to do APAC too?
Jeez, so aggressive. Well, this is just one of the many great moments throughout the day we have here in the Overwatch League. Thank you once again, everyone. Especially as you know, today in the matches, everything was on the line. So obviously the emotions were boiling high, and that means we saw some great plays and some fantastic whiffs as well on the server. That means there was plenty to choose from for us. So I'm gonna start this one off with Assassin sneaking up on the opposition. I have to make air quotes here because that was about as sneaky as a sledgehammer. So they're going for the decoy teleport, and then he stomps through the hallway and sneaks up on Suna. I mean, no. Like, why is this even working? Like, that was not... No.
The funny thing
it was
is,
so not sneaky.
it's a set play. Like, you can tell they're like, we're going to teleport up here, and Assassin, you're going to sneak as May through this room and then flank somebody.
I can just imagine him as well, just like, why is there a May here? Like, that's a classic. Why is there a May here? Why is he here?
Unexpected.
Why?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming for sure.
No, they don't call him Assassin for nothing.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, true. That's true. Assassin. Oh, okay.
Oh my god. No.
Ding!
I hate this post show. No.
All right, let's move on. All right, my turn. My best of the day.
Oh, okay.
Johnny. All right, my best of the day is Oni God. It was on Temple of Anubis. He should rename his name to Widow God because he does a little flick shot. And yeah, right there.
Oh
He's just so fast, so clean, so crisp.
Sheesh! Assassin with
No,
a,
remember-
with a not
remember
so
we're changing
subtle
that word to
assassination
he's?
round 2.
But it's not he's.
Yeah.
No, still, I think he sounds better than sheesh.
Are you gonna say he's
does.
when it's not Hisu?
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, that's the other. Fine. Oni. No,
I don't know if I want to give Oni. I don't know if I want to give Oni God that much credit though. Because I mean, again, that was about a sneaky teleport as like it wasn't. Like you had no business teleporting up there. Why?
Well, you say that, but
But
all
still.
4 of us would have missed that shot. All 4 of us would have absolutely whiffed it.
Yeah.
But I also
And
don't
we
get
would've died
paid
the
to
song.
play with the best in the world. So
These-
there's
Well,
that.
I used to, and
So
I would have missed
You
the
used
shot.
to,
So. Does that count for anything?
I would have hit it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, of
okay,
course.
Johnny. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure. Okay. We're gonna go to my best of the day, and I honestly don't know how this interaction works at all. And this is gonna be Fury, one of the Diva goats, using the remech, but going through a teleporter at the same time. I don't even know where the mech ended up, who it would have hit if anyone was around. If he's just trying to live, I just thought it was neat. So that's half of my best of the days at this point. But this is a really cool tech by Fury.
Shout out to the lower third here too.
Yeah, that was a
Very.
good one. The sequel coming up to Mad
Actually.
Max's Mad Fury.
Portals. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Well, let's end the best of the days with just a solid pulse bomb, okay? Because we had a 3K pulse bomb, big explosions. There are no questions here. We don't have to answer anything. The pulse bomb speaks for itself. Big stick by Aspire, didn't really turn the team fight around, but it's a small big bomb, you know? Like it was neat. It was a big boost. You'll have to see.
Small big bomb. Is that what you just
because a big bomb is a diva bomb. But this is a small bomb that turns big. So I love this, you know? Boston, they stack up in the room, but that's just a smart play from Aspire. He knows what's gonna happen. He goes in, hits the stick, 3K. Boom!
A little bomb that could.
There you go. I mean, if talent doesn't
Nice.
work out, you can write lower third for a living. There you go.
True. I mean, let me guess, Reinforce, you would have stuck that one too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just blinked and pressed Q. There's nothing hard about that.
Wait, didn't we
Right.
see Johnny play DPS in the talent takedown?
He played Genji.
I don't know. It's a never-ending nightmare. I
played
can't
Tracer
recall
too.
what happened. It was just pain.
I'm not
and
going to
misery.
comment on my performance in the talent takedown.
No, you really shouldn't. Either way, we have more actual legitimate plays, you know, not the talent takedown happening overnight. So let's take a look at the APAC region as they will be playing their play-ins as well to determine which team will make it through. It will be between the Hangzhou Spark and the Philadelphia Fusion to decide that first round, and the winner has the utmost pleasure of taking on the Seoul Dynasty. And the winner of that match will be playing in the playoffs. Love the color coordination there with the Spark and Fusion. It's very edible.
Yummy.
Pointing that out. Actually looks delicious. That's my professional commentary on that match. But in all seriousness, are we having a clear favorite here? Do you think this is a clear-cut affair, or do you think they're going to play each other very close?
So I actually think that Seoul Dynasty, I think they're the favorites. You know, they have a great regular season record at 12-4. But Philadelphia are my dark horse, actually, because I think that now when Funny Aster is there, this time around in the Countdown Cup, of course we had a hero pools as well, so there was no Lucio available, no Ashe available. I think unlocking some of those heroes actually really helps the Philadelphia Fusion. This is a team that likes to play aggressive, and if Funny Astro can be on that Lucio and Alarm can do his thing, I actually think the Fusion could be really good here, so I'm keeping my eyes out for an upset there. I guess it's Seoul later in the playing bracket.
Right on. Well, we'll find out tonight.
Playoff P. Johnny, come on.
He is.
Playoff P.
He is.
It might be over. It might be over.
Might be over.
It might. The playoff P might be. Like that story arc might just, you know, need a boost.
No, have confidence. Remember, Johnny?
I don't know.
Confidence is the key.
It's true.
Okay.
Also, I'm not
kind of
sure
true,
we
to be
should
honest.
stick to the short form there with the play of P, because that just sounds all sort of questionable to me.
Oh,
That
come
happens.
on!
I'm not a native
Come
speaker. Like, I'm
on!
just hearing what you're saying. Like, I don't go for short forms of whatever. Either way, perfect transition into our bracket just to get those thoughts, you know, out of everyone's head. Like, let's wash it clean. It's a palate cleanser with a bracket. These are the matches coming at you tomorrow. Toronto Defiant have been picked by the San Francisco Shock, and that leaves the Houston Outlaws to have to deal with playoffs decay, or play-in decay for now, which. Yeah,
Play in decay. Sounds ferocious.
Well, actually,
Scary.
John Spector, I think, dubbed him Do or Die Decay, since it's play of profit and he needed the D's to, you know. Anyway, Bo agrees. That's a great nickname. For now, it sticks. Okay. Yeah. Well, do we have any favorites heading into those matches? Do you reckon they're going to be a bit closer than what we saw today, which quite frankly was a bit of a sweep?
Houston, Washington.
Yeah.
Houston,
Are
Washington.
Houston going to bomb out this time around? Oof.
Honestly, Washington looked really good today. I think it's going to be a close match. That Houston versus Washington match is going to be pretty close, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, there's that. For already.
Bo. Yeah, let's ask Bo.
Well,
Bo, what do you
I'll
think?
hit up Bo for my
Washington,
predictions tomorrow.
Okay.
That's not what I heard, but that's okay. Well, we'll have a chat with Bo a little bit later, and we'll share it on Twitter, of course. Make sure to follow all of us, including Bo, who doesn't have a Twitter account. Exactly. Don't worry, I give you shout-outs. Anyway, that's it for the Watchpoint Post Show. Thank you so much for watching. Time to zoom out, go on your merry ways, and make sure to tune in for the APAC matches. And if you're not, don't worry, we catch you up tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Those APAC matches
See you
are going to be
tomorrow,
lit.
everybody.
Tune in.
Watch the APAC.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned.
Oh,
It's coming up. Drink some coffee.
Drink some coffee?
Drink a lot of coffee.
That's a
Oh,
weird
too
PSA.
much.
Caffeine.